I'm Stephanie, and welcome to Wine Club. This is the playlist where I drink good wine while I whine about bad books. And today's offender is sadly One by One by Frida McFadden. Very unfortunately. So, I'm gonna go ahead and say that there are going to be spoilers in this review. And as I say in all my reviews, this is solely about the book, not about the author as a person. I've really enjoyed McFadden's work in the past. So it's really disappointing to have to do a wine club episode on this particular book. But let's go ahead and see what this book promised to be about. Claire Matchett needs this trip. It will be a break from work and raising children, a chance to repair her damaged marriage, a week of hiking and hot tubbing with friends at a luxurious hotel in the woods, disconnected from the pressures of real life. Then, on a lonely dirt road, Claire's minivan breaks down. With no cell reception, the group has no choice but to walk the rest of the way to their remote accommodation. But the forest is dark and difficult to navigate, and hours later, they are lost. Hopelessly lost. As they venture deeper into the woods, the members of their party are struck down mysteriously, one by one. Are they being hunted? And by what? Or who? As Claire's dream vacation descends into a nightmare, something becomes clear. Only one of them will return home alive. This is a taut story of betrayal and survival from New York Times bestselling author Frida McFadden that will leave you wondering if there's any way out of the woods. So like I said, spoilers, but only one of them will return home alive. 3 of them do. So, lies. Don't lie to me, synopses. Stop promising things on the back cover copy that aren't true. So I gotta say, I picked up pretty quickly that this is definitely an earlier work by McFadden, and I'm very happy to say that she has grown as a writer. Like, as I was reading it, I had to flip back to the copyright page, and I did see that this was self-published by her in 2020, and then picked up by a traditional publisher later, I think, when was that? 2024, which makes sense. This did not read as well as some of her other work. It's very basic. It's definitely a quick read, and it held my attention. But again, it's just very different seeing where she is now in her writing career and then going back to this, because The book is only about 260 pages, so a fairly quick read. And the plot does keep moving, though it does get kind of repetitive, and there's not much depth here. If Basic Bitch were a book, it would be this. This is basic. Our characters are kind of basic themselves. We've got our main girl, Claire, her husband, Noah, then her best friend, Lindsay, and Lindsay's new man, Warner. We've got Jack, who is Noah's best friend and college roommate, and, spoiler alert, Claire's lover, and then his wife, Michelle. It's really not a big cast of characters, but I also don't really love any of them. A lot of the plot hinges on characters making really poor decisions. Like, really poor decisions. Like, instead of following the road they know will eventually lead back to civilization, they just march off into the woods and then promptly get lost for days. They only have a little bit of water and some road trip snacks. So Jack's a former Boy Scout, and he's able to lead them a little bit and keep them alive with his fire-making skills. So I know the story doesn't happen if they don't go into the woods, but it just felt really forced. So, again, last warning of real spoilers. We find out that the mastermind, picking off the characters one by one, is Lindsay, Claire's best friend and her roommate from college. But Lindsay dies back in chapter 14, or so we are led to believe. But I gotta ask, what was Lindsay's plan if Claire had stayed with her? Or before they even set off on this hike-o death, because when the car first breaks down, which how'd you get the car to break down at that exact moment? But then Lindsay's all, oh, we should stay in the car. And Claire's like, no, we should go with the group and don't get separated. What was Lindsay's plan if Claire was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna stay in the car with you where it's safe? Like, what was Lindsay's backup plan? I mean, again, it doesn't matter because the book already happened the way it did. But then we find out that Lindsay isn't working alone, as her boy toy Warner is kind of a fake boyfriend, and what do you know, he's a killer too. Like, again, how do these guys just plan all of this? And again, how did you get the car to break down at the right time? How did you avoid these people running back onto the main road? And how big are these fucking woods that these people are getting lost for days? So with the reveal of Lindsay, I didn't think it was her. As again, I thought she was already dead. But Michelle was still around. I had Michelle pegged as the killer because we get all these point of view chapters from an anonymous character, also known as the killer, but they were written very carefully to never reveal the gender, which kind of gave it away. Like, the way it was written makes it scream like, the killer is a girl. Like, some of the anonymous chapters go back in time and show, like, Lindsay's upbringing and why she kind of is the way she is, even though it doesn't really answer that, but whatever. But Lindsay's dad was always buying her baseball caps and calling her sport, and then would call her the kid to avoid gendering her and making us think that it was one of the men. Like, how thoughtful of Lindsay's dad to consider the readers and speak in code in the past. It didn't work, and again, it made it glaringly obvious. Like, obviously the killer's one of the women, and it's not Claire, because I don't think she's smart enough to do it. So I think Lindsay's motivation is interesting, but it's also not solidly written. Like, her main motivation is going after cheaters, as she hated what her father did to her mother, insofar that he was cheating on her a lot. Fair. It's okay to hate your dad for that. But she also hated her mother growing up. Like, her mother would hurt her and neglect her, and at some points even try to, like, poison and kill Lindsay. But as soon as Lindsay finds out that, her dad was cheating, Lindsay just flips a switch and is all, it's all my dad's fault. Like, yeah, he contributed to the problems, but it also seems like Lindsay's mom is maybe not a great person, with or without the father's influence. Like, there are scenes where Lindsay is talking about how much she hates her own mom and ends up killing her mom's cat, which is not shown at all, so you don't have to worry about that. Like, it's mentioned, but not shown. You don't have to worry about animal abuse in this. But, like, Lindsay was always talking about how she would, like, off her mom if she was just given the chance and the tools to do so. So she's always been a killer, but is now hiding it under the cheaters are bad and need to be punished, okay? Kind of like motivation. But then she's also mad that, so Claire is cheating on her husband Noah with Jack. Lindsay finds this out when Noah finds out, so Noah puts the moves on Lindsay and then can't go through with it. And so now Lindsay is all mad because he tried cheating on Claire with Lindsay, but didn't go through with it, and now she feels all rejected. Like, do you hate cheaters or not, Lindsay? Pick a lane. So then we find out that Lindsay met Warner online on an apparent, like, serial killer forum, and they decided to lure this group of friends out to the woods to pick them off one by one, with, like, Warner being able to let out his killer tendencies. And honestly, gotta say, poor Michelle. Like, yeah, she's kind of a bitch and cold and rude, but she didn't deserve to die. She didn't cheat. Again, Lindsay, what exactly is your motivation here? What did Michelle do to warrant her being picked off? Because I don't think she did anything. Again, rude, but that doesn't mean a death sentence, does it? Otherwise, I might be in trouble. Like, even the cheating storyline kind of just, like, fades off into the story. And that's honestly my biggest issue with this book. There's no character growth for our main girl, Claire. Like, she starts off the book with telling us how much she truly hates her husband, Noah. They both give as good as they can get, and they're just so hostile with each other. Like, there doesn't seem to be any love lost between them. Their relationship has deteriorated, And Claire just wants it to be done. Like, she is planning on doing this vacation, sleeping with Jack as much as she can, and then going home and telling Noah, like, it's over. But then during their little jaunt through the woods, she starts to realize that Noah cares through, like, little actions, which is great and all, but the bar's pretty low. Like, I kind of hope he cares if his wife and mother of his children live. And then she kind of just realizes that Jack is a jerk and then calls off their affair. And then at the end, Claire and Noah are back together. And they even have a little romp in the hay. But I don't understand how we got there. They never talk about their issues or resentments and just seem to go, oh, well, we're back together. Like, Lindsay coming back from the dead was more believable than them getting back together. And that's saying something. Like, Claire and Noah have years and years of issues and pent-up frustrations, and they just, poof, magically go away? I don't think so. Like, we even find out that, yeah, Noah knew she was cheating. And it's great that he was able to forgive her and, wants to save his marriage. But can you have the conversation? Can you hash everything out? I can't with these two. I ended up giving this 2.5 stars, and I feel that's pretty generous. I wanted to give it 3 because, again, I've loved her work in the past, but I just can't. This really reads like a first draft. And when it was a self-published work, I honestly would have given it more grace because she doesn't have a whole team of editors behind her. But when a traditional publisher then picks it up, they should have reworked it a bit. They should have fixed some of these issues and just made it, I don't know, a little bit better. The idea is good, and it is a story, but it just has no depth. I kind of feel like it's like a house. It has walls and a structure, but there's just no furniture. There's nowhere for you to sit and think about things and enjoy the view. It's kind of just the outline. Now, I will say, it's not the worst thing I've read, and it actually wouldn't be that bad of a book to read on, like, a plane or, like, a commute just to pass the time. But this is one I definitely don't need to reread and probably won't keep on my shelves. I'm actually probably going to give this to a free little library just so somebody else can read it. Maybe they'll like it better. Maybe they haven't read anything by McFadden, so this won't be as glaring of a difference between, like, her writing capabilities. Again, I'm so glad that she has evolved as a writer because this was not great. So I still have The Housemaid and The Inmate by McFadden on my to-be-read pile. So please tell me, which one should I read first? Let me know by leaving a comment below. Otherwise, thanks for joining me at Wine Club.